Hello, it's Terra Lumination story time, and here in this particular video, we're working on a theme. It's called My Top 10 Car Wrecks, and we're going to start with number 10. We're going to call it Swarm. Okay? I don't want to give the story away too quick. As you know, Terra Lumination is a very serious channel, and we deal with highly evolved people here who are naturally already resonating on super high frequencies. So what we do here with this kind of storytelling is absolutely normal for our crowd. Also, as you know, Terra Illumination is a highly professional operation. Uh, we do things with the best of intention for your guidance and your inspiration, and to induce more and more of the healing power of love to flow and work and through into and through your life, so that you are not just you. You're above and beyond that. You are a conductor. You are a conduit. You are an instrument. You are an agent of the realm. You willfully and deliberately allow the healing power of love to move into you, through you, and out of you. There you go. So that you are living your life knowing that you are divinely guided and divinely protected at all times, even if you don't feel it. And just by luck, sheer luck, that's kind of how Terra Illumination operates by default. For some reason, I was born with an operating system that works just the way I described, and I would not be here without that operating system. Because the reality is, excuse me, the physical life of Terra Illumination has been, let's just say, challenged by so many, let's say, life-threatening situations that it really doesn't make any sense statistically how or why Terra Illumination should even be here at all for you guys. But anyway, we digress. Let's get on to the little story. So imagine yourself as you're a biker kid, biker crazy. It doesn't matter whether you're male or female. Where I live, there's plenty of biker chicks. A lot of them are, all shapes and sizes or whatever. Some of them are on their big Harleys cruising with their sweethearts on their matching pink Harleys, or some of them are on these like hardcore racers. Some of these biker chicks are on vintage machines. It doesn't matter. Of course, there's plenty of guys out there. I think they call it crotch rockets. There's a lot of that stuff near me, and there's a lot of everything else, the Hell's Angels and everything. And the only reason I'm mentioning this is because I myself was a biker freak. Well, I still am in my own little way, but I can't really indulge anymore. I've kind of had to set that aside for now. Hopefully one day we can indulge again, but it's going to be fair weather riding, and that's it. No more using two wheels as a form of motorized two wheels, very large, heavy motorized two wheels for your daily transportation. I don't do that anymore. So picture yourself as a biker, okay? And you've got all your gear. You've got your leather stuff, and you've got your gloves, and you've got your stuff that you wear when you do biking. Typically, a lot of bikers, they have layers of things, and they know that, when you're going more than like 20, 30, 40 miles an hour, you're facing into the elements. And when you're getting up into the 60s and the 80s and the hundreds, it gets pretty gnarly out there, and you need protection. So a lot of riders wear very heavy designed clothes that are specific for bikers. The reason being, like if you take a spill, gravel hurts, okay? Tarmac hurts, I'm just letting you know. I have had a long and close relationship with uh, the tar macadam on the streets. So just imagine you've got your commuting life and you're on a vehicle, you're old enough to drive, and your chosen vehicle is a motorcycle, and it's a very big one, and it's very powerful, and it's very fast, and it happens to be black. Okay, so you feel good. You're feeling like that's who you are. That's what you do. It's just how you are. Okay, and others fear you because look at that. Whoa. And they hear you and they know you. And of course, like a lot of bikers, they get kind of turned on by facing the elements. It's that feeling of like, I can get around everybody faster. I can get from A to B faster. And it's fun. It's very, very exciting. It also happens to be extremely dangerous. For those of you not too familiar with motorcycles, yeah, we see them all over the place. But the reality is, when you take a motorcycle to the extremes of its capabilities, there's not a lot of wiggle room. Like in a car, if if you hit black ice, if you hit the curb, or you bump into those sort of like things on the side of the highway that remind you to stay awake, so your car is bumping around, or if you smash a car or whatever, you know, or somebody smashes you, you've got this big metal box around you, and you've got four wheels. So unless it's a major impact, and we'll come back to those later, another story, uh, the chances are you can get out of that vehicle without too much damage. In contrast, on a two-wheel motorcycle, especially if you take it to its limits, and for whatever reason you cross that limit, things get very bad very, very quickly. And so we're kind of dealing with that situation here. I'm just kind of giving you the background. Please understand that a motorcycle at its limit can be thrown off track by one piece of gravel, by one of those like gnarly dips in the road, those long dips where two bits of road joined together and the paving isn't working too well, and all the gloop that they put in there isn't working too well, so it ends like a rut. And you see on older highways, and if you get your wheels stuck in those ruts, man, that can be scary. Once you're in it, you know you're in it, and then you have to get out of it without crashing. I don't want to spoil the other stories. Now, weather, of course, too. If the roads are wet, or if there's sand, or there's oil, you are in deep peril. If the corner is sharper than you anticipated, you are in deep peril. And it's not like you can just go, oh, nudge, or just slam on the brakes and the auto anti-skid device kind of goes, and you might, nudge the curb or the whatever's, those fences things. So yeah, I'm just trying to get you into the understanding that motorcycles, as exciting and fun as they can be, they're also extremely dangerous. Okay. And I know from experience. So I'm just letting you know, sharing this with you. So now let's picture you're on your journey. You're on a routine commuter journey, and it's out in the middle of nowhere. Okay. Let's say rolling hills, beautiful hills, and it's green, it's all luscious. We're actually going back to merry old England. So if you can imagine that, or in a similar situation where you are, picture the most picturesque environment in your own location. Even if you're like an urban dweller, go out of town and pick somewhere. If you could go on your like wild motorcycle ride, and you're just picture yourself in the saddle, in the seat, you've got your helmet on, gloves are on, always wear gloves, and then you've got full control. All your feet pedals and all your dials and knobs are working perfectly. And you're just going for it. You're twisting and winding. Oh, that was great. I'm going to be home soon, or I'm going to get there soon. And this is so much fun. Yay. And the weather isn't too bad. Okay. Let's just say it's summertime or springtime, and everything is starting to blossom, and the air is thick with pollen and humidity and new verdant growth. Okay, so it's very distracting. Okay, it's very beautiful with a motorcycle because, especially if you have a really good quality helmet, you can get very broad vision and enjoy it without feeling like you're stuck inside this metal box. It's very thrilling. It's very, very satisfying. So this is probably just going to be a really short story. I'm going to get to the point in a moment. But let's just say you decided to take the shortcut home, which included going down some very wiggly, tight lanes that are typically damp and gravelly, even at the best of times, especially if there's, in a farming environment, if there's cattle or sheep or pigs or something like that, and things are just generally messy and it's kind of rural. Okay, you're out there, it's rural, the city is over there, you live over there, you're on your way, and you're going through this beautiful, idyllic, paradise type of situation, and it smells good, it feels good, the air is pushing at your face, and it's liberating, and you feel like you're alive. You feel like you've blown all the cobwebs away in your life for that particular day, that particular moment. And as you're moving forward and you're gazing around, perhaps getting distracted by the delightful distractions, the plants, the trees, the sky, and your own satisfaction at feeling so good. And you look in front of you and you start to see this very dark cloud, but it's out of place. How and why would this dark cloud be at such a low level on the ground? Clouds are supposed to be up there. And so you think, okay, well, it must be an anomaly. Maybe I'm losing my eyesight. But you keep going. And of course, we're going at a very serious pace here, frankly, much too fast for this type of situation. Pardon me. And, oh, I've given it away. Oh, I didn't want you to see that. Oh. Anyway, so there you are. And the road is pretty narrow. There's not a lot of wiggle room to do anything. We're talking ye olde England, where there's lots of wiggly little roads where there's just barely enough room for one car in one direction. And so you mess up and you're either going to hit a stone wall, or you're going to hit bushes, or you're going to fly over a fence and probably run face first into a cow, or land face first in a big pile of pig doo-doo, or a big watering bucket, or the end of a tractor or something. So that's the kind of scenario, or maybe even a big tree trunk, or some bushes, or some evil nettles, or some spiny kind of like nasty bushes. So anyway, there we go. And facing forward, knowing there's only one way out here is through this little tiny road. And at the speed we're traveling, it's very, very hard to stop safely and quickly. And this black cloud that was just kind of a glimpse moments ago is now all of a sudden right in front of you, okay? And as you look closer, you realize it's not a cloud. It's actually made up of thousands and millions of little tiny bits and pieces that are moving around. And they're all very, very dark. And it's swirling around. And you realize, of course, ha 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 ha, who would have known? It's a swarm of bees. So, yeah. Okay. This story was inspired by one of the other stories on the Terra Lumination Storytime channel. And I can't even remember what that story was called, but it's there. And it concerns bees. So a few people have written in with their bee stories to the Terra Lumination channel. So I thought, you know what? I'm just going to tell you another bee story. Why not? It's very, very healing, and it's very liberating. So there you are. You're on your beautiful, high-powered, big, fast motorcycle. And you're all decked out in your gear, but it's a lovely day. So guess what? Your leather jacket is unhooked on the front and just one button on the bottom. The sleeves are flapping open, and the gloves are on, and the helmet visor is up, because you get off on that kind of stuff. You like to feel the wind in your face, okay? Forgive me, I just enjoy those kind of things. I'm sorry. So let's just say you've kind of realized you've got a problem now because you're going at about 60, 75 miles an hour. You really should be going more than 25 or 30, but you know what happens on motorcycles when you're a motorcycle freak. This is just what happens, I'm telling you. So you're going face first into a swarm, and you know instinctively that if you try to slam the brakes on from the front or kick the one from the back, you're going to wipe out. And that's not much fun at those kind of speeds. I can guarantee we're going to have another story about that another time. Uh, so going through this, I don't know if you've ever faced those kind of situations where subconsciously your brain and body is making decisions that you can't make in your brain. It's just happening at the limbic level through the whatever they call that in India, the hara, your gut, the gut of your gut between your navel and your groin, that area, which is extremely sensitive to fear and danger at the most profound levels, that's where you're making those decisions. And the decisions were made at that time, at that point in my body, at that moment in time, to keep going because there was no way to stop. So looking back now, the decision was just go as fast as you can and get through this and get out the other side and you'll be just fine. And of course, that's what I did, but that's not what happened. Ha 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 ha. So, so now you're facing straight into a massive swarm. And I know you've seen these on some wacko like nature videos or something, or a horror movie or something, you know, and there's no way out of it. So I'm going face first into this swarm, and I hit the swarm. And it was really, really scary because within seconds, my whole upper body was just filled and covered with bees. The helmet filled up, my face was covered, my neck was covered, the inside of my jacket and on my chest, and my belly and my armpits and my neck were all covered in a thick layer of bees that didn't see me coming. They were just being bees. And so it's one of those situations. And the problem was a lot worse than I imagined it would be because obviously I didn't have a lot of practice at this. So anyway, now we're in motion and my body is now figuring out this is worse than I thought it was going to be. And so I'm gently putting on the brakes, realizing I'm going to have to stop because I can't really see anything. And I'm terrified. I've made these little creatures angry. And then I could die at any moment if they all choose to attack me simultaneously. And so I lived through the swarm, excuse me. And at that speed, the swarm only felt like it was probably maybe 6 seconds. Okay, the actual journey through the swarm wasn't more than about 6 or 10 seconds. It was a massive swarm, but it came out the other side and realized that because I couldn't see anything, I was just going to have to trust nature. And because, now this is going to sound very strange, because I've already had plenty of practice at this, again, not planned, but I know what it's like to spill a bike at speed. So I thought the best thing to do is just spill this bike at speed and figure out what to do next. So that's what I did. I jammed the front brake on as hard as I could, locked the wheel, and jerked the bike sideways so that it would go into a side spin and then flip and lie on the ground, moving sideways across through the street, through the gravel and the mud and the moisture, and knowing that on each side of the bike and my body would be the hedgerows and the rocks and the trees and the animals and everything behind the bushes. I did not fly over the bush. I stayed in the middle of the road, and when the bike came to a standstill, I wiggled my way out from under the bike and realized I was not stung. So I thought, this is very, very strange. What do we do now? What would any normal person do in this situation? It was obvious. It was so obvious. I took off all my clothes. There you go. I just decided. So I stripped off the leather jacket, left it on the ground. I stripped off the helmet, left it on the ground. I stripped off the shirt and the jacket and the undershirt underneath that and left it on the ground. I pulled the pants off, and at that time I wore baggy jeans, and I just ripped the pants over the boots. So I was pretty much left with a underwear and biker boots. Okay, not a pretty sight. Okay, and I don't recall anybody else on the lane at the time, so I can't prove this or verify any of this, but I'm just telling you the story. And I ran. I started running like a crazy man down the lane. I'm trying to hold myself back from laughing hysterically at the moment because that's how I actually feel, but I'm not going to do it because this is a very serious channel and we tell very serious stories that are all about inspiration and how to live your life. You know, this is a practical story of how to live your life to the max, how to face death, how to face ultimate life challenges and prevail and come out the other side and start your own YouTube channel and tell the story. Yay. Okay, so this story, of course, goes back many years to a very rampant youth. So there you are. Terra Lumination is running through the British countryside on a tight little road with mud and gravel and lots of sunshine, but also lots of clouds and lots of humidity and lots of pollen and a big swarm of bees somewhere back there, and a pile of bees that were slowly being shed off of my body as I shook myself. I shook myself and ran around like a crazy man, jumping and jumping and jumping to shake the bees off my body. I didn't hit one bee. I did not touch them. I did not anger them. And eventually, all the bees were gone. Yay! Terra Illumination lives to tell the tale. Thank you very, very much. So then the next thing, of course, it's just like cleanup, okay? It's just like any natural disaster. Now it's the cleanup time. So we can get through that pretty quickly. Terra Illumination, underpants, boots, leaving a trail of clothes, and a swarm over there, and a smashed up bike over there. It's not smashed up, it just wiped out, okay? So we just do everything in reverse order now, okay? Just like imagine everything in reverse. Grab each garment, make sure it's all shaken out, get rid of the bees, shake them out, bye-bye, thank you very much. Pants on. Next step, put shirt on, put top shirt on, put jacket on, put helmet, gloves back on, shake off any residual bees, go and retrieve motorcycle. Thank you very much. It's a step process. This is what I'm telling you to do. This is exactly how you deal with this situation. So anytime or whenever this happens to you, you will already know well in advance exactly what to do and how to do it. This is like one of those how-to survival stories. How to survive a bee swarm on a very fast motorcycle at high speed in a very tight country lane in the early springtime. Okay, so that's how you do it. I'm just giving you tips. This whole story is about tips, how to deal with a really tough situation. But that's what we do here. That's what we do at Terra Illumination. So Terra Illumination came back to civilization, picked up the motorcycle. Sadly, it was a bit banged up, but, you know, like motorcyclists do, they can turn it into a war story, kind of like what we're doing now, and to make it all epic. Like, you see that dent over there? You see that scratch? You see that mark? Do you have any idea what happened to get that mark? Well, I'm going to tell you. So you're doing that at the pub in the evening with your mates and your buddies. And you're drinking your beer at your British pub. And of course, you're perfectly fine, like nothing ever happened. And the only thing that people could ever know are the scars and the scratches on the side of the motorbike. And of course, how many people would actually believe that story? Well, it's a true story, And it's very good story to tell in pubs. Okay, it's an excellent story, especially if you're trying to impress people, or if you want to shock people, or if you are trying to outdo somebody on their own disaster story. Because we all have disaster stories. And I'm sure each one of you listening has your own disaster story, very similar to this, but it's probably worse. Anyway, thank you for listening, and I wish you all a blessed time on your motorcycle journeys. Thank you very much for choosing Terra Illumination and watching Storytime. Bless you. Take care now. Bye bye.